Okay, good morning once again. Trust you're all doing very well. So welcome to day 17 of the Cpg Web Development Program. On Tuesday, we started with the basics of backend web development, and today we will be pushing ahead with that course. I can see your mentor on the platform who is going to be anchoring the session today. Ensure that you pay attention and participate actively in the program. If you have any question, you ask. Remember that backend is the backbone of your front-end application. Without you knowing how to store your data, you wouldn't know how to retrieve them and make use of them where necessary. The functionality of your front end will just be there without the core basic knowledge on how to build a backend system. All right, so pay attention to this course. Wherever you're missing out, wherever you're lacking in that knowledge, feel free to ask your questions. And after this session, we would be checking out our attendance sheets, all right, to keep up with our attendance. All right, without wasting much of our time, I'll be calling up on your mentor, Mr. Godwin, who will be anchoring this session. All right. Once again, thank you. And I remain your humble program instructor. Welcome on board, Mr. Godwin. Let's put hands together as we make welcomes, Mr. Godwin. Hello, Mr. Godwin. If you are talking, you are currently mute. We can see you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Like, I think I was mute. I didn't realize. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Welcome to another session. Uh, we start or we should wait for others? I can see just
Yes, we can proceed, sir.
five of my students are here.
We can proceed. They'll join us.
All right, all right. Okay. So, building on what we have done. Initially, we had a very thorough introduction into what back end is, like what will be required, the skills, the technology involves, and of course, before anything, I want to debunk any myth that surrounds back end that it's the harder part of the software development um, structure. That's actually incorrect. I believe it should be the most straightforward, and it takes less time with a lot of uh, will to get started. I will demonstrate that, like you see how easy it is to quickly start up. So the thing is, we stopped at we have outlined what we'll be doing for the period of 2 weeks on the course. And I believe most of us now are already mentally prepared for that particular journey. Obviously, we start with server. So before we continue, I want to ask if we understood the last session very well, because that's the main point of me being here. If it's just a formality, I wouldn't have accepted the opportunity to uh, engage you guys. So I would like to know if we truly understand what the server is, what it entails, why a backend is synonymous to, let's say, server application, why we call it server application. So just a recap, because if we continue now and we've not understood what we've done, then I think the main aim of what we are trying to achieve will be lost. So quickly, because of time, uh, actually an hour is enough for a lecture, I believe. The standard attention span is 45 minutes, so it's even less than an hour. So I think it should be more than more time enough to really understand what we are supposed to understand today. So before we continue, let's know if we have understood what we said earlier. And so somebody can just quickly help us. I don't want to just point anybody. So like your submission, your this thing will help others, even if somebody didn't really get it. Probably a team member, when they express what they've understood, probably will help you as well. So somebody can just quickly give us a recap of what they understood in our last session. Please quickly, so that I want to help you guys set up as quickly as possible, like the basics, so that like before the end of 2 weeks, at least, if somebody asks you, you'll be able to at least give them an idea of like practically what you can give out some endpoints. So that's the aim. So just quickly, if somebody can just help us recap so that we know that we are together and we understood what was said last time. And let me note this how my session will be. For every session, we'll have to recap what we've done. So that, like, because the main point is you understanding. If you don't get to understand, at least an average of eight, and like I need at least two people to really understand like what we've done, like at least, you understand. So just anybody, just give me a recap, just something generic, something you understood from the last session. Yeah, Manasseh, just go on.
Okay, good morning, sir. So from last lecture, I understood the difference between front end and back end. That is the front end versus the back end, and I understood that for front end, it has only one user at a time, but the server can have multiple users at a time, and the front end is used only on the user's device, while the server on its own is a component that can be used by, let's say, different people and different devices. That it's serving different devices at a time. So that's what I can say now, sir.
Yeah, very good. Like I think that's a very good recap for all of us. Please just let's be engaged in the session, so that next time somebody else can be in Manasseh's position to help others that really were not following the session. Because from my little experience, like mentoring others, like we understand things differently. Like I know that The way how probably I might understand with Christian, another individual might not really understand with Christians. Yeah, so we understand differently. I concede that. And the aim, as I said again, I want to reiterate, is to get at least the basic idea of what this course is and debunk the myth that this is a very hard course. It's not. I want to really reiterate that it's not. And I will demonstrate how very not easy, but less complex it can be to get quickly started. I do lot of front end as well, but I find it a little bit easier on on the back end, that's because probably that's my niche, or maybe it's a personal bias. But I still feel that it's not as difficult as it's put out there, because on so many communities out there, like when you try to engage about back end um, um, path and path to becoming a back-end engineer, like I can safely say it's a little bit toxic, because they believe like it's not as accepting as the front-end community, where you get help as quickly as possible. Of course, with the help of the LLMs, the AI generators, it makes it easier to, if you really want to leverage it. But of course, you need to know where to start, and that's what this course is. It's not to, at the end of the day, you're already a senior, a mid-senior, a very um, a very able backend engineer. That's not the point. The point is for you to know if that's the path you want to continue with. And of course, there's so many opportunities in this particular space. So let's just quickly start so that we'll achieve a lot. I'll be sharing my screen, and if you can see my screen, you just let me know. Is my screen up? It just perfect. Hope this is not a Manasseh specific class. Please, I need engagement from every person. So Manasseh, like, well done, well done. Like, so like I will need affirmation from others as well. I can see Miss Matthew, Manasseh, Derek. Are you with us? Perfect. Miss Precious Tommy.
Good morning. We are seeing the screen.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right. I've outlined what we'll be doing, correct? We said basically for you to be a backend engineer, you must first of all know some of the most important things, which are I lay out the flow in our last class, which are APIs, um, servers, business logic, and data storage. So it's not limited to that. There's so much of course that you need to learn, but you shouldn't think too much about, okay, I want to learn everything in one day. Like some false instructors, they say, okay, I will teach you back end, I will teach you JavaScript, I will teach you this in 1 hour. If you look closely, you see something called it, like it's always associated with something called crash. So if you think that's possible, you obviously crash. So let's put our mind, there's work, there's effort that you need to put in. So quickly, what's an API first of all? Like I don't want to be asking so many questions. We're already 20 minutes into our time. An API, of course, basically just means you have a backend, you have a front end. They need to communicate at some point to be a singular application. So an API helps you in that communication. It leverages computer networking. It leverages dev tools. It leverages specification. It leverages protocols to achieve that. So in this particular course, we'll be more specific on the API specification we're using. We'll see that in subsequent slide, the one we'll be using, and we'll just quickly go over a demonstration. And if time permits, I think you'll be required as your first assignment, to have the setup for the environment we'll be working with. That will be, let me just hint it to you, that will be your assessment at the end of today. So a quick definition, you can just read through. Like, I don't really teach by writing and reading like this, because these are generic things you can get online. So an API, it's an acronym, of course, that stands for Application Programming Interface. It's an interface, a means of communication between two separate, independent um, uh, softwares. In our case now, that's how our front end and our back end communicate. Okay, as we can see, it's an API is a contract that lets two pieces of software communicate. It defines the message, operation, and rules they use to exchange data. The keyword there being, of course, it communicates. It helps in facilitating communication. And of course, in this particular communication, data is being exchanged. So what are some of these APIs that, is it just one specification, or we have multiple specification? And so we have multiple specification, different ways technologies communicate, softwares communicate with each other. I think we have multilingual team. I don't know if Mr. Mohammed is Hindu, but if he speaks his local dialect, probably most of us will not understand what he's saying. Correct? So that's the case when somebody speaks what, as an example, obviously, when somebody speaks what you don't really understand, you will not know what the person is saying. So, like, these are specifications that backend should know that specification, front end should know that specification. We've agreed, okay, this is how I'll be talking to you. Front end, this is how I'll be responding to you. So, like, we all know this particular specification, then I will set up the communication channel on my end. Backend will send that communication in, let's say, in that particular way. Then front end get to respond appropriately, and backend get to respond appropriately. Sorry, front end request for some resource, then backend response to front end. That's the flow. So hopefully I am working under the assumption that you've done JavaScript as part of your course for the front end, even if it's, let's say, 2 or 3 sessions. At least I want to really engage you. We'll just start as quickly as possible. Even probably we might not really understand it. As I highlighted initially, we'll run before we walk, because, like, which might not be conventional, but there's a reason for that. I want to give you when probably you've done something more complex, then when you get a simpler one, oh, this is how it's I get to this particular point. So quickly, let me just start with REST API is the API we'll be using, and that's the API that is most common for front-end, back-end communication. Like you can use SOAP as well and gRPC, but for the scope of this lecture, let's just limit ourselves to REST. And others include WebSockets. You can actually use that as well. You can use server sent event. You can use AMQP, and you can so many that like these are just the ones you can use for front end, back end communication. These are, let's say, limiting the scope now. Let's say this is just English, Hindu, Russian per se that people get to communicate with each other. So these are just ways of communicating. Like the belts, the technologies that are built on front end to leverage REST. The technologies are built on front end to leverage SOAP. There's others that are leveraged on front end to leverage gRPC as well. So let's quickly start with REST. REST is as as an acronym as well. It stands for representational state transfer. We can see from that particular name, we can see transfer and we can see state. So imagine I want to send what I want to send an image to backend. Correct? So that's that's where the representational part comes in. I want to send an image, I want to send a file, I want to send a JSON. We'll see what a JSON is. I want to send an XML, not HTML, an XML. I want to send an XML, I want to send like to the back end or front end. So like I can send any type of resource by REST. I can send a video, I can send I can send text, which are called strings. I don't know if we've done data types in JavaScript. So to properly understand some of this. So as I said, we'll be using REST over something called a HTTP. I'll explain briefly what that is. So for today, let's quickly see how long we can go with REST. Then we quickly set up our environment to start working. So any question at this point? All right, let's continue. REST being the main thing that is there in REST is that we need to, it involves transfer of resource. That's the main thing. Then I'll walk you through the specification, you see what it is, so that when you start using APIs, or when you built your APIs to be consumed by the front end, like I was told that you guys were given a what's it called? You guys were asked to have a portfolio set up, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that portfolio, there's some part of it that that require you having a form. So we'll use that at the end of the day to see how we can send that form. If we still have time, then we can send whenever a form is sent, like information of a form is sent to the back end, then let's say an email is sent to that particular user. So that hopefully we'll be able to achieve that if time permits. But if not, then we can have that our assignment at the end of the whole session of the 2 week assignment that you don't get to submit. So that's, if you you engage with that and you do it very well, then you know, this is for me. If it becomes so tiring and it looks overwhelming, then this is not for me. You just know that. And so some of, like, as you can see on the screen, as I said, REST just basically helps in transmission and of resource. And while transmitting this resource, there are some rules to follow to like while using the REST APIs. We'll see the rules, we'll see the best practices, we'll see the structure of REST um, in our next slide, not really slide. So quickly I will close this slide so that we'll just get quick, like we'll start working. Let me share something else. Okay, let me just share the entirety of my screen so that I will have some flexibility. Okay. I believe as prerequisite, we already know what Git is, please. I'm working under assumption here, so which is not very convenient for me. So we already know Git. We've been able to set up our individual Git accounts, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's just quickly start up. Okay. So for be it as it may, I am a backend engineer, obviously, but my stack mainly is Java. But I've been told that like tech enthusiasts and beginners find it a little bit difficult to quickly start up with the Java ecosystem. So we'll be leveraging something else. I'm versatile, as I said earlier. I'm versatile with other technologies as well. So we'll be quickly setting up, since we've started with JavaScript. And as I said, I'm working under the impression that you are already very at least a little bit familiar of what a programming language is, what JavaScript is, what how it helps you achieve what. So I'm working on that with that assumption. So let's quickly. This is some of like the project that we'll just quickly start with, so that we'll just start seeing like we'll be backend engineers like in an hour. And this is not a crash course. So quickly let's see what REST is and the structure, some of the structure of REST. So first of all, REST runs, and as much as all these others, let's see these others. I think REST, SOAP, gRPC, even these other ones start with something called HTTP. HTTP is a networking protocol that that facilitates communication over the internet. That's what it stands for, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That's the HTTP. So that's just to quickly start up. So we'll not go through that. So when I'm on my browser, we all know this is a browser, correct? I want to, let's say I need to go to Google. Google. This is sites. Not ready. And not google.com. No, not Google Edit. Not Reddit. Not Reddit. Once I once I hit this on my browser tab, this what it, like we're familiar with this, correct? Okay, this is this is HTTP specification. This is what we call a URL. So you need this URL to visit a location, a site, or a web application. So we leverage this particular protocol called HTTP to achieve this. So REST is built on HTTP. gRPC is built on HTTP, like it uses that as the means of communication. Just consider this as, okay, this is the tool that if you want to, you want to communicate like between two softwares. This is the guy that takes your resource to the other part. You have what to say or what to communicate, but you cannot reach the other person. This the tool that helps for you to go to and fro this particular these two services or two softwares. Built under this is what we call like is a more abstract specification called TCL and others. What I've forgotten a little bit. So these are these are just prerequisites of what will be the main purpose of today is mostly on REST and how to quickly start up on with backend. But hopefully these are some prerequisites that you already know. But you can give a hint if you don't. I hate assumption actually. I really don't like I can assume probably just one person in the session knows this, and I can assume that we are all very comfortable with it already. So like if you are not, you just let me know so we can just quickly go back to that and explain what HTTP is. But for now, pending, I can see that most of us don't really ask so many questions. So I believe you already know some of these things. So these are the structure of REST. First of all, we have what we call methods, REST methods or verbs. For me to communicate with backend, I need to know what I'm doing, like what I'm asking of the backend. Do I need to get something from the backend? Do I need the backend to save something for me? Do I need to delete something from the backend? Do I need to update a resource that was already on the backend? So these methods help me to tell the backend what to expect from me or what I want. So there are so many of these methods. Okay, let's go quickly back up. But the most common ones, which will be the scope of what we'll be learning in this particular in the whole of this program, falls under get, post, put, and delete. There are others called options. There are others called patch. There are so many others, but this should be the scope of what we'll be learning. So get just tells the back end, give me this resource, this so and so resource. Post tells the back end, I have a resource, I need it to be saved. Then back end save it for you. Put tells the back end, like I've saved the resource before, but maybe I've forgotten some part of like I need to update a particular part of this resource. Help me and update it. Delete. No, this resource that is here, like I don't need it again. I need it to be deleted from your end. So let's give a simple scenario with a bank application. To I need to see all my bank history, correct? Like my transaction history. I've made a lot of transaction for the period of, let's say, a year. I need to see all my transaction history. Then I will tell the back end, I need send all my transaction history for me. Let me see. Then I use get to tell the backend to do that for me. In the event I make a transaction, I make a very new transaction, that I tell the backend, this is a new transaction. Like, it does not have an identifier yet. It's not saved on your own part. Help me to save this particular transaction. I'm initiating this transaction. Then we use post for that. Then in the event that I have a transaction and probably I need to change, let's say, the name of the transaction or the message I saved with the transaction, then I will tell the backend using put, I have this transaction already. Please help me and update the description of this transaction. Then in the event that I don't really need that transaction again, then I'll tell the backend, delete this transaction for me. So these are very important. Please, let's mark it on our head. These are some of the methods, the REST methods that we'll be using. The get, the post, the put, and the delete. So let's just quickly go back. So for a REST, it requires you to have, since it's a two-way communication, the resource is tied to either your request, you are requesting from the back end, or a response you are getting from the back end. So it's tied to, it's split into two, your request and your response. There's, for every REST cycle, you must have a request and a response. Don't worry, like I will have all this document will be sent to your, it will be sent to Mr. Udolfort, and I believe the company has a managed Git repository. Then you can quickly just go up there and just pick it. So this cycle, like we have two cycles, the request and the response. So all, for a request, for a full cycle, the request should have a method, which is a verb, which is always a verb. Like, you know what a verb is? Like get, post is a verb. Doing something, like you are telling the backend, do something for me. So like the method are always verbs. So like the get, the put, like they're all verbs. So starting with that, we have the method, then we have the URL. The URL is, okay, I need a resource on this particular address, or we, in our own part now, from like uh, the backend, like mostly you hear the word endpoint being thrown around. So the endpoint is just a part of what is called a URL. This is a full URL. We can say this, correct? Are we following? I want to quickly just brush up on this so that we can quickly set our technology and start working. This is a URL, a uniform resource locator. It helps you to, you want to communicate with somebody using REST over HTTP, but you need to know where that person is, correct? So this is the person's, let's assume this is the person's address. I want to get resource on YouTube. I don't know where YouTube is. So this is the address of YouTube. So like this is called a URL, a uniform resource locator. Then part of it is called, like, let's don't overcomplicate it. We have URL, we have URI and others. So let's just copy it now to see what an endpoint is. An endpoint is on this particular URL, the part, like all other resources are living under, let's say, this part of it. They call it the base URL. If we get to host our application, we'll have a domain name. So our domain name now is the base, like all our resources found on that particular base, correct? Then the endpoint there is the specific places in my my domain where I can get a specific resource. So that's what an endpoint is. And you'll be, when you get to work extensively on the back end space, you'll be hearing endpoint being thrown around. That's what endpoint is. Is the particular location of where the resource you are requesting is. It's part of the URL, or what we call the URI. So let's recap. We'll be using the REST API to communicate between our front end and our back end. And this is the structure, the basic structure of the REST. We start with, it's split into two. Basically, REST just like, it helps you to get resource, to transfer resource from two softwares. So like, to be able to get this or transfer this resource, we need to follow some specifications. These are built on front-end frameworks. These are built on back-end frameworks as well, so that once a message is sent to the back-end, it will know that this is REST. It follows REST structure, then it will respond to it appropriately. So for it, the REST is split into two. The resource is split either as a request or as a response. So for a request now, we have, as I said, we have the method. What is it we are telling the backend to do for us? We are telling it to get something, correct? That's the method. That's the method in this case. Of course, let's this other part. Like, it's something we can quickly read up on. So I will quickly just go to the most important, then we work from there. This, on the request and the response, it's split into two as well. We have the header and the body of either the request or the response. We have the header and we have the body of either the request or the response. So this is, the whole of this is what is contained on the header of the response. That's what when you send a request, like the data let's say you are trying to save something to the database using the back end. Your data will be on the body, but the rules or to tell the backend what to do will be on the header of the request. Then when backend is sending back a response after it has correctly or incorrectly, in some cases it might be incorrect response, but it will always give you a response. If you don't get a response, I think I've worked extensively with front-end engineers, and there's this thing I usually tell them. Once you don't get a response, it means a communication cycle has not happened. You've sent some information, or you've tried to connect and communicate with the back end. It means, like, once you don't get a response, it means the back end did not see your request. That's what it means. So we'll get to that point where we get to see the full cycle very quickly, if time permits. So This basically how a response header looks like. You have your method, you have your URL, then you obviously you are sending it over the HTTP protocol. It's just a way that you communicate over the internet. That's the HTTP. I'm being overly simplistic so that we'll understand this. Yeah, I don't want to have so many technical words flying over there. So like I'm trying to be as basic as I can. Then if you don't understand some of these things because of the time, then you can just quickly go over online and just check them out. But if you still are in doubt, then you just reach out to me. And then of course the host, the host is the full domain. Okay, it might not show this way, like the full URL, sorry, or the domain. That's the host where like, okay, I'm trying to access a resource on this particular domain on google.com, on YouTube, on Facebook. That's the host, like where the whole of your back end lives. Okay, so then in the headers, if we are trying to access secured resource, then we need some form of let's say you are trying to enter your house. You need a key to enter your house. If your resource is very like sensible, you don't need everybody to, like, you can say I don't need any prior this thing to go through Google. So this is a public resource in this case. But in the event that I need authorization, I need a way to enter or to get a resource, then there's a part of the header called authorization that helps you to do that. Then you are telling the back end, this is how I want my resource. I want my resource as something called a JSON. I want my resource as something called an image. I want my resource as something called a PDF. Then you specify it on under accept. I accept this type of resource. Whatever you do on your backend, when you are sending your response to me, send your response, the body of your response in this particular format. That's what this is. It's closely tied to the content type. The content type of the resource must be a JSON. The content type of my resource must be a file. Which type of file must be a JPEG file? It must be a PDF file. It must be an MP3 file. Because believe me, all these things can be sent over the HTTP, which obviously before the end of our 2 weeks we'll get to see. And I want to again debunk that this is not a difficult endeavor. So we can see if I need to get a resource, then I go through get. If I need to save something to the server, I need to go through something called a post or a put. So secondly, we can see a sample response. After I've sent a resource to the server, and if that is, if I send a request to get a resource from the server, if that request is available, then it responds with that request. You can see how a sample response look like. And the response, okay, ID, a name, an email, the role of the person, this particular thing was created at so time. This is just a sample of a request, and this particular request response body is called a JSON response body. A JSON, and you can see initially we've specified to the backend, this is how we want our response to come. The body of our response, we want it to come as a JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Annotation Object. It's just a way to send a response, like a body of a response. We have so many others. We have like the scope of our course would be limited to JSON. You have so many others as well. You have XML that I think mostly with SOAP SOAP API mostly communicate by XML. But since we are on REST, let's use what is mostly out there. But I want to debunk, this is not how it will be sent over the network. It's like REST sent as a string. We call it a base 64 string. So that's how REST send it over the network, but that's not the scope of our course here. So first of all, like REST is split into a response, a request, and a response. And we can quickly see how a request looks like. This is a request header. In the event that when we get to post, I think quickly down this particular slide, we'll see if we are sending a body as well, in the case where we are posting, we'll see how it looks. This is just a get, so this is how get looks like. So just quickly, like these other are inconsequential at the moment. So like the rate limiting, these are some of the things that you are expecting the back end to enforce. But for now, let's quickly just look at the content type and of course the method. And so like for the response, you can notice some things. It doesn't come back with the verb or the method. It comes back with something called a status code. It tells you if this particular resource you are trying to get, like it's there and it's being sent back. So we will look down and see some of these status codes. Let's quickly, I think on this, there are some status code. I want to be as quickly as possible with this so that we can just in the start of the next session, we just quickly start working with our backend. We'll start spitting out endpoints so that we know that at least even at the end of this this thing, we are able to achieve something. So these are some of the status code that the server tells the front end. When you just see a status code, you know, my request has been accepted or my request has not been accepted. So you should be able to read and understand the status code. So to start with, any status code that starts with 200 and above, like 200 and in the range of 200 is successful status code. It means your request has been accepted by the back end and it has been processed. Any status code that it's under 300, it means your request has been redirected. That's what it means. Like this particular server cannot handle your request, so it has been redirected to another server to handle your request. That's anytime you see a 300 level code. So then whenever you see a 400 level code, it means what I'm sending to the server is incorrect. It may be the body of my response, like I'm not sending the correct body. Then when the server now will send a category, a 400 level category code to me to tell me, this response you are trying to give me, there's something wrong with the response. So whenever you see a 400 level code, you know the issue is from you, the front end engineer, or the type of response you are trying to send to the back end. And of course, when you see 500 level code, it means I'm trying to send a request, but on the server side, there's an issue, not on my own end, being the front end or the client. I don't have an issue. There's an issue from the back end in processing my response. So as very good backend engineers, like I will very well advise to avoid sending 500 response. These mostly are responses that most at times they're generic response. If you've not handled a particular scenario or how like your you've not anticipate a particular um, you've not anticipate a particular response, then you get a 500 error. So quickly, we are done with all the theory part of this course. So next, we'll just quickly start with, in our next session, we quickly start with the practical part of it. So I believe that's easier to learn and faster to learn for us as engineers or potential back-end engineers. So I will drop the setup, how to quickly set up. I don't know, let me just quickly ask. I don't like going above my time, so that I can just quickly run you through the setup. Then that will be your assignment, to have this setup before my next class. So I don't know if we can, I will want us to know if we can spare, let's say, 5 minutes of our time, because I work basically with time. I believe we have so many other engagements. If we've said we'll do this at so time, let's just do it at that particular time. So like an hour is enough, as I said earlier, to pass any information I need to pass. So let me just quickly ask some of us. You can leave if you um, our moderator permits. But if you can spare, let's say 10 to 5 minutes, so that I can quickly walk you through the setup, because I will send you the documentation on what to do. But if you want me to do it so that you see it, so that like by after, like that's what I will ask for the like in the beginning of our next session, then we'll see if you've done your setup or not. If not, then we'll just push this to the beginning of, I'll send you the documentation, then you do the setup before the next class. I don't know which one works, so I would like your output on that. Mr. Olutayo, what do you suggest? Should we leave it to the next class? Then you just work with the documentation, or you can give me 10 minutes of your time. Mr. Olutayo. I'm pronouncing that correctly? All right. Let's get your view on that. Should we have the 10 minutes to quickly do that? Just a brush up, or you can.
So I can't speak for.
Huh?
I can't speak. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I'm okay with if you go ahead with that.
All right. What about others? Miss Matthew, Mr. Derek, just give me a thumbs up. All right. And so I believe we know what JavaScript is, but let's just run through the setup now, explain some of these things. So what we'll be needing are tools called, since we are working with REST, we'll be using something called a REST client, something that looks like this. Let me see if I have these things that are set up for you. You cannot actually do that on the browser. What is limited on the browser is get request, because it just requires you to put a URL, then you get your response. So but for others, like let's say put and post, you will not be able to do that directly from the URL from the browser. So that's why we have a customized tool called, this is not just the only one, you have so many others, but this is the go-to for developers. It's called a Postman. So it's considered a REST client. Since we are dealing with REST, it's a client that helps you to make requests and get response from your back end. So built on JavaScript, you have technologies to do that. I hope that your front-end engineer has hinted you on how to make some of this. If not, it will fall on, I think, myself at the end of this this thing to help you integrate with your portfolio, because this is built on JavaScript as well, or on the technology that will be used, you'll be using to make this request. So quickly, I think I have some services set up. This is not okay. Is it up? It's up. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's up. Okay. Let me just quickly demonstrate. This is a post request. Okay, you can see I've sent a request to the server. The server is currently running, and you can see the response body that comes to me. You can see this. This is what level status code 200, correct? 200 level, correct? In as much as 201, but it's under 200 level. And so it means it's a successful request. So we'll be mandated to, first of all, have this set up, like have the postman set up. So I'll send the documentation to, I think, latest tomorrow. Then you push it to you guys. I might not, I don't know yet. I might not be available on, I will be available. So we just come up and use the time to quickly set up on Saturday. So we'll be needing a postman, a REST client. We'll be working with JavaScript. So it means for you to work with JavaScript on your machine, you need an environment for JavaScript to work. So the environment that helps JavaScript to work on your local machine is called Node. So we'll have Node set up, Node.js set up. Then we have something called Express set up. That's the technology that we'll be using now to build the backend services. So these are the things that will be set up that you have to set up on your own. And you have quickly, you can just, let me just show you how to, you just go on and just check a postman, download. If you are working on a Windows machine, and then you can quickly just download using Windows. You download, let's see, I already have this, hopefully. Correct, I already have this. So when you click download, you get your download setup. You can quickly go on that setup and start the download, the installation process. We are conversant with how we get something installed on your device, correct? So I already have this, so I will now be going along to complete another setup. So this is what will be set. This is the first thing that will be setting up. Then the second being the environment that we need JavaScript, because JavaScript basically runs on your browser. For it to run now on your machine, like on my machine, on my local machine, I will not be like, when I write JavaScript code, it will not run. So I need an environment setup to help it run on my local machine. So what helps JavaScript to run on your local machine is called Node. Node.js. So you download Node as well. You do the same. I don't know if you've done this already with front end. I think for some front end, this thing, when you are working with JavaScript, you might be mandated to do this as well. So if you've not, then you just go on Node.js. Then I'll send the documentation, of course. Then one thing of note, you can see the versions that you have to download. Download the version that is prefixed, that is suffix, that has a suffix of LTS. It stands for long time support. So when I don't know the one you want to, but you can, anywhere you see the LTS, that's the one that you should download, that has a very long time support. So you click on that and you go down to download and you do your download. That's that. Those are the two. Others, we like the Express, I think. After you've downloaded this, I think it's like you need to have these two set up. Then in my next class, we'll work with that. So I expect in my next class, with the documentation I'll be providing, you have your Postman and your node set up. Then I will explain what an environment is, why you need an environment quickly, like probably in my next class, in the first 20 or 20 minutes, we'll explain quickly why we need some of this. Then we just quickly start with our code. This will be what will be mandated to do. Like at least you can see, let's run before we walk. This is just like then if we are able, then we'll go deep and do other things as well. So this is how it might look. Then because we've done front end as well, so I assume we all have a code editor. So that's why I will not put it in the documentation. I assume you already have that, and I think I spoke with your front end instructor. I believe you already have that set up. So just for now, I'll send the documentation. You download Postman and you download Node, and I think we'll continue from there. So quickly before we end the session, if we have any question or any submission, just 2 minutes, and you just share it. Else we'll just meet in our else we'll meet in our next class. Any questions? All right, Mr. Udolfort.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Godwin. I want to believe that we are all following, and the fact that we don't have any question is still surprising. Does anyone have any question you would want clarity on the course we've just received? All right, so I believe we can all call endpoints now. You have the knowledge of what it means to call endpoint REST APIs and all. Okay, GET requests, POST requests, and the likes. All right, cool. So very soon you'll be having assessments that you'll be working with calling these endpoints and pushing an endpoint that's working to your repository. Okay, and subsequently, you're going to be connecting them to your portfolio. I want a situation whereby if I come to your portfolio and pick up that contact us page and send a message to you, you should be able to receive it and give me back the message that I sent from the front end. I believe we can do that.
Yeah,
All right.
trust my students, they will be able, like we obviously will reach to that point, speaking for them, but if they have other submission, they can add to that. But I believe we'll be on track. This is just, it's sometimes when you are starting a new course or a new technology, it can look overwhelming in the beginning, but I believe with time, like everything will be sorted and we'll have that, what you've just said.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Godwin. I was pulling them so because the session was over and no one asked any question. I mean, these are the kind of questions I was expecting them to ask. Okay, but I believe we are all on the same track. All right, our time is fast spent, and would love to keep us waiting. And on that note, so far so good. I think we've only had two extra submissions from last from the front end week. So far so good. I think we have only 5 persons: Manasseh, Anshe, and Manasseh Salisu. Okay, and yes, basically I think that's the only addition. That's the only addition to the front end week. So we still have pending tasks. So we are going to be taking the attendance for today's session. And let's not forget, we still have pending assignments, and your grading system fully depends on this. All right. And your active participation in the class as well, because I noticed some people are just let's say we're not asking questions where we don't understand, and we need the best. All right, so we won't stop until we get the best. We will do everything possible to get the best. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen and we'll be taking the attendance for today's class, today's session. You confirm to me when you can see my screen. Abasi Frekebasi, your hand is raised.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, I want to apologize first of all for not being able to submit the projects or assignment that we're doing because I've been caught up in a lot lately. I've not been feeling too well, but I always ensure that I attend the classes so that maybe when I want to go back and do the projects, I'll find it very easy when I'm watching videos to be able to tag along. So I want to make the promise that by next class, my project will be ready.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
That's fine. We have a YouTube channel that is currently streaming live, and you can get the recordings of every session. All right. So I don't think there's anybody that should have excuse. I mean, we have the night. This is a journey that is never convenient for anyone. That is why developers are highly paid. The learning process is where the work is. When you're fully settled in knowing what you're doing, when you start building, when you pick up a stack, whether you're a product manager or whether you're a UI UX designer, or you're a front-end developer or you're a back-end engineer, once you pick up that stack and you get to know it very, very well, the workload is reduced. When you're working, all you just need to be doing is just a little drop, maybe a little research to what you already know. But this is the basics. This is the foundation. And once the foundation is settled, you've stressed yourself to throughout the night and all. Once this foundation is sealed, every other thing becomes very easy. You understand? So when you're working, it's not that you'll be stressing yourself to do some setups again. When you're working with big tech companies, these are just the tools. It's Visual Studio Code that you'll be using to write codes for white people. Is your Git repository that you'll be pushing the codes to. It's the knowledge of JavaScript, the knowledge of HTML, the knowledge of CSS that you'll be using to build front-end applications for these people. It's the knowledge of Node.js, REST APIs, Postman collection. That is what you're using at the back end to communicate with and do projects for these people. Whether the company is whether it's Microsoft, as long as you're employed as a backend engineer, these are the technologies you would use. I was with a friend yesterday and he was talking about one of us that was being employed in a tech company. And the guy's starting salary was $2,000. And they say every month, every six months, the salary keeps increasing by $200 as 2,200, 2,400, 2,600. And what are the technologies the guy is using? And it's just pure front-end developer. What are the technologies he's using? HTML, CSS, and just JavaScript. Just these three things. There is no framework. If you're a front-end developer, you know that there are frameworks that you use, such as React, Angular, Next.js, and the rest. But this guy is not using any framework, just the normal HTML, CSS, JavaScript that you on this platform know that you're used to. That is what is giving this person $2,000. Now, if you convert that to Naira, you can keep the answer to yourself. Are we making sense here? So this is the time that you're putting in the effort, you're stretching yourself, burning the night. Now, we that we are already familiar to this, we can get jobs and tasks and we'll sleep over it. And in less than a day, we'll just wake up and complete it. In just a day, we can just wake up and build whatever we want to build. It's not because we are learning that technology now. It's because of the knowledge, the time and effort. Some of us have spent over a year learning these things. Some of us spent over 2 years learning these things. Okay. So why am I telling us this? This is the time to put in the effort. It might be looking stressful and tiring and all, but this for tech, this is the price you're paying. All right. And funny enough, here you're not even paying anything. You're learning the knowledge for free. Okay. This is just it. So just put in the effort. It might look crazy and it might look as though nothing is happening, but with time you would get the benefit of this. Are we together? So put in effort. If you miss a class, go on the channel, pick up the class you missed, listen to it. If you have any question, throw it on the platform. We are not asking questions like we used to again. Put in questions there. Why do we even need a backend? We can always build a front end and people will see it. Why do we need backend? These are the kind of questions you should be asking. Okay. Even the courses that are passed, you can still ask questions on them and get your answers. And we grow. Are we together? From these people that are on this team, after this first course, there are people that will want to return so that they would be able to pass the same knowledge to the people that are coming into the platform. And if you don't have the knowledge to pass, why would we employ you? Why should we keep you? Are we together? So try as much as possible, put in the effort, and let's get the benefits out of this program. Thank you so much. I wouldn't want to waste much of our time. Our time is fast spent. Let me quickly get the attendance. Please confirm to me you can see my screen.
You can see your screen, sir.
Is it only Manasseh that is on this platform?
You can see your screen. You can see your
You
screen.
can see your screen, sir.
All right. Is Mr. Daniel Onapatrick on the call? Is Victory Louis on the call?
Yeah,
Present.
present.
Manasseh Salisu?
So I'm on the call, sir.
All right. Manasseh Hanshe?
Present, sir.
TJ?
Good morning, sir.
All right. Lynn Matthew?
Present, sir.
Is Case Dick on this call?
Present, sir.
Is Case Dick on this call? 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 Is Case Dick on this c Precious Tommy. Precious Tommy. Is Derek on the call? Derek. Is Mohammed Zahid on the call?
Yes.
All right. Is Abasifreka on the call?
Present, sir.
All right. So, um, so we can see this is Saturday. We still have this is for front end week, conclusion week. Only 3. Okay. I think Manasseh, Salisu has submitted. I got this. All right. So basically, we have only 4 persons. All right. If you feel you have submitted your URL, your portfolio's URL, then you can reach out to me for us to update this. So basically, we have only 4 people that have successfully passed front end. All right. So we'll be meeting again for our next session on Saturday for backend web development. If you have any question, feel free. Mr. Godwin is a very open and friendly person. He doesn't bite. He's on our platform and he can answer every question related to your backend. Every question related to this course, everything about the backend. He's a senior engineer. All right. Feel free to ask him any question and get your answers, like get your satisfying answers. All right. This is how you will become good at this. If you don't communicate, you won't go anywhere. The major essence while we've put out this program is to ensure that communication is number one. All right. Most newbies and most people coming into tech find it difficult to put this particular role in place, which is communication. All right. So I want us to keep it at the forefront that communication is the basic essential of this program. Try as much as possible. Ask your questions. Tag your mentors on the platform. All right. I wish you all a very successful day. Have a wonderful time and take good care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.